On.
Hi, welcome to the Fit Rats workshop called Fearless. I will be your presenter for today. My name is Allie. My background is I am an amateur figure bodybuilder. I am a gym rat. I go to the gym every day. I am also an educator. I am here to educate you about you. As I already said, the topic that we will be discussing today is fearless, about you becoming fearless. How do we do that? First, you need to understand what the definition of fearless is. Fear can also be just getting in front of people, individuals that you don't know, being a presenter and wondering what are they going to think, are they going to like me, am I going to be able to follow through, am I going to mess up? We as individuals experience fear all the time. And so that is what today's presentation is going to be about. It is going to be about becoming fearless. Yet before you can become fearless, first of all, you got to be able to tackle and know what fear is. The definition is, like someone you said, being afraid. It is being scared. Apprehension. Okay, you're apprehensive about what is. Yeah, hesitant to be. Thank you. Good job. All right, to dread something. All right, knowing that it is coming. In its extreme form, which a lot of times we tend to think of, we never think of the fear when it makes you something makes you jump. Because, oh, yeah, you know, you're scared in your life. But the one that we tend to think of when we think of fear is the extreme version of terrified, something that almost makes, it's like a gut-wrenching pain. It's like you are free, you know, you freeze, you are ready to run instead of fight. You know, sometimes people do fight. All right, but that's the one we tend to think of. And then, of course, fear also comes in the form of expectation and worry. You know, the worry that maybe something could happen. And that, of course, leads to fear, the expectation. Because that's what fear is. Fear is like an expectation of something bad or unpleasant happening to you. Yes, ma'am. And what did you say? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Fear could be an obstacle in your life, not being able to feel as if you can overcome that obstacle.
Okay, yes, fear can be an obstacle. Fear can be like something that you don't feel you can either get around or you can get over. It's just literally the effects. Now let's start talking about the effects of fear. People experience fear in many diverse different ways. And even after they experience, how it affects them can be also just as different and diverse. One, vulnerable. When we experience fear, at times, we can feel weak, open, exposed. Also, questioning our worth. Am I good enough? Can I be good enough? Why not me? Why them? Why didn't I get it? Am I not good enough? Again, us questioning who we are and our self-worth.
Doubts.
Doubts. Oh, thank you, ma'am. That's a very good one. Exactly. Doubting ourselves. Not being confident in ourselves and who we are. Questioning our abilities. Oh, ma'am, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then also shame. That feeling of embarrassment. Shame at times can be, I think, one of fear's most potent feelings or effects that it can have on us. It's a very, very strong feeling and something I think that can be very lasting, and depending on the individual can be damaging to the point of where it even affects our ability to move forward. It can leave us stuck. It can affect us mentally as well as physically. So shame is a very, very potent effect of fear. Lack of courage. Lack of courage. the ability to want to do, to feel strong, to want to do. It will make us feel weak. Another key term, weakness. Being afraid to take that next step. Being afraid to always maybe bungee jump if you ever wanted to go bungee jumping, or jump out of a plane, you know, or just to go somewhere at night and salsa dance. Say you've always wanted to go salsa dancing, you know, but you can't get anybody to come with you, and it's that fear, you know, of going by yourself, even though you're great at it. You know, but instead of you going out somewhere nice to experience, you know, that love that you have within yourself, you'll just stay in your home, turn on the TV, you know, or put on your, you know, your favorite song on the radio, you know, and then you salsa dance in your kitchen instead of going out and experience what, you know, the joys that you could have experienced outside in a different type of environment. Yes, ma'am.
So it's ideally a sense of being within a comfort zone, but it's because you're that fear that puts you in that comfort zone. You know,
Exactly.
It's like when you say lack of courage, it's like dangling your toes off the edge of a curb and not thinking you can step off there because you don't know if you're going to step in a puddle or if you're going to step on the pavement.
Exactly.
Solid surface.
Exactly, exactly. And again, what it does is it actually keeps you from moving forward. Exactly. And to a point where it can actually make you stagnant. You know, and you're right, it makes you comfortable. You are comfortable in your zone. And it's because of fear, instead of you doing it by choice. Because that's the difference between choice and the inability to make a choice. Fear takes that ability away from you to choose to be in your kitchen salsa dancing instead of going out, you know, and enjoying a dance with some nice, attractive young gentleman or pretty female, you know, and experience the life or that happiness that salsa makes you feel. Very good. Yeah, yes, absolutely, ma'am. Thank you, absolutely. Now, something about fear that you should understand, that fear is a very powerful and complex feeling. We actually just talked about fear and what we know it as. I guess you could say the general definition of fear. But because it is so complex, and because it is such a very powerful and strong emotion, it can come in different ways. How does it manifest itself in different ways? Nervousness, becoming jittery. It'll make you unsure, you know, above your bearings, your surroundings, of yourself, of the outside world, also your world. Greed. People don't realize it, but greed is a form of fear. Because a lot of times when you're greedy, you're wanting things either you already have and you want more of it, or you're wanting something you're not supposed to have and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. But see, the fear is that you won't have it, and that's why it's called greed. And unfortunately, in its most extreme cases, people will do things because of that fear of not being able to have, or what will happen if they don't have it or if they can't have it, and they will do very terrible things. But greed, it is, if people don't realize it, it is an example or a form of fear. Then there is explosive anger. Just a very strong outburst of an emotion, which is usually fear. And and whatever the reason why the individual displays that type of behavior, it can be for many different reasons. You don't have to put a name on it. But explosive anger usually comes from a place of vulnerability, and that's how they bring their fear out. And then the one, jealousy. Jealousy in itself is nothing but another extreme version of fear. Because again, it's about what could happen, what you can't have. You wanting it. that jealousy is a form, and if you notice, it ties into nervousness, explosive anger. A lot of times when people show jealousy, it usually actually comes out in explosive anger. You know, exactly. And so that is fear. Now, how is, or rather, coping strategies? A lot of times we don't notice fear in regards to being nervous, greedy, extremely angry, or even jealousy. What a lot of times we will notice is the strategies that people use to cope with those feelings, and then that's how we're able to diagnose that there is a problem, there is an issue, or that there's something that they fear. For example, drugs. Individuals, yes, people do use drugs just, as sometimes leisurely to enjoy. But most times drugs is not used as something social. Usually it is a product of some sort of fear, of getting away from a problem or issue that they have, and that is what made them feel good. That is what brought them out of the depression or whatever hurt feeling that they were in. Then you have alcohol, the alcoholic. The individual that drinks too much beer, that drinks too much wine, that drinks the shot, just not the 1-2 shots of tequila to have a good time, but they're not only drinking 6 or 8, they're moving on to something else. So you've got different forms of drugs, heroin, crack, which of course we know crack is another form of cocaine. And let's not talk about household drugs like Vicodin. All right, then you have alcohol. Then you have risky behavior. The individual that goes out and do things in extreme behaviors that can bring danger to them. It can be in the forms of sex. It can be in the forms of extreme sports. Like people always wonder, well, extreme sports is not bad. It depends on what your methods are.
What your mentality is for it. What's the reasoning behind doing it.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where your head is at the time that you are doing what you choose to do. And how far you're willing to push your body and push those limits to the point where it puts you in danger. And then, of course, the one and the main thing, it is types of eating habits. That one, I think, speaks volumes, because that reflects how we feel. We, first of all, are humans, and so we are creatures of habit. We go to what makes us feel good and what our comfort level is. That tends to be with food. And so now you have individuals who use eating as their comfort blanket, actually. And I've done it. Oh, I'll tell you, I will eat a brownie and drizzle some chocolate on it and heat it up in the microwave, get it real hot, and put all kind of ice cream on it. You have a brownie drizzled in chocolate with vanilla bean ice cream. I'm not playing, y'all. I'm telling you, and I don't know what it was about. I would sit up there, I would get into my little pose up on the couch, and I would sit there, and at the time, I wasn't gonna lie, I was going to college. Okay, I went further in college, I had some kids too. But Oprah would come on, and she was on during that time. And I would sit there, man, and I'd be like, it would calm me down. And I never realized that. I never realized that until literally here the last few years, because after I had a baby. And after I had that baby, for about 10, 12 years, I was a clean eater. And then after I had my son, things changed. And it's crazy how quick you can go back to old habits. And when I started becoming stressed, or I got into a point of fear because of the unknown of things that were going on, I went back to the brownie and the chocolate. animal behavior because I'm not supposed to have chocolate. For medical reasons, I'm not supposed to have chocolate. But because of sometimes what was going on in my life, I would go back to what made me feel good. And so therefore, that was me displaying a type of eating habit which was bad and a risky behavior. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you didn't.
I saw your hand.
Interrupting you. I was just thinking, because you know that you aren't supposed to have chocolate. You already touched on it, so I was interrupting you. That is risky behavior, because you are actually self-inflicting something on you with that.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, and also with the sugar or with the brownie, it gives you that momentary little high with a devastating crash at the end.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is why I always made it a point to be on the couch so when I would go crash, I could lay down and go to sleep. But you're absolutely correct, correct. Then, we always talk about in regards to fear. Because we know that it is a powerful and it is a very extremely complex emotion. But even when we talk about fear, we will cling to our best friend denial, and we will shout to the top of our lungs what we're not afraid of. I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid to do this. I'm not afraid to go here. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. And then, of course, because of fear, we cling to denial. Denial is our best friend. No, we don't. we will cling to it. I'm going to be this way. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die anyway. That's what I always hear. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die something. I'm not going to the gym. Why do I need to go to the gym? My man loves me. I always want to say, even if he does love you, is that healthy for you? You know.
Well, do it for yourself.
And exactly. 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 Exactly.
And just at the same time, when you say that, and you hear people say it, there's the insecurity come on.
Yep.
You're saying that he accepts you with you
Really, exactly, exactly. And I didn't want to say that, but I was thinking he's loved you for so long, he's willing to tolerate and accept you. But that doesn't mean that's what he likes and that's what he wants. There's something I remembered and I realized was instill fear. Something that as females we've experienced since here. As females, girls, and women, there has always been certain types of fear instilled in us, intentionally and unintentionally. It happens as women when we're carrying children. It happens as girls, college, if you go to college, or when you're in your 20s. But somewhere along the way, fear has been instilled in us, and it's repeatedly instilled in us. Even through media now, it can be instilled in us. Sometimes intentionally, like if you watch a talk show and you're like, hey, you know what you need to know as a single woman living on a college campus. You know, and then sometimes unintentionally from the shows that you watch. Even the cartoons, if you pay attention to the cartoons sometimes, for females or young girls, there are certain things that are put on there. There is, depending on how the female is portrayed, or the little girl is portrayed, there is a fear. Can you all tell me what certain types of fears are instilled in our population? You don't have to raise your hand. You guys can just blurt it out and I'm good.
The fear of not finding Mr. Right, your Prince Charming.
Okay, yep.
Not being pretty enough.
Not being successful enough, to meet, society's
expectations. Yep, acceptance and expectation. Absolutely, absolutely. Any other? Oh, come on, you guys. There are a whole lot we got going on.
Domestic. The fear of not being able to take care of your family and your husband won't, whenever you find that Prince Charming, and your kids. Just making sure that you handle everything as a woman.
Yep, and your house is speaking.
It was crazy. First, it was the perfect mother that stayed at home.
I'm not that old, but like, what's it?
There, it has been me trying to rebuild myself and of trying to reestablish parts of the old me, get rid of the bad me, you know, and the things that made me weak, and to literally, mentally as well as physically, you know, inside and outside, to literally rebuild myself and to conquer these fears. And I won't lie, I talk to myself, even like someone mentioned pretty, every day. I get up and I ain't lie, I look in the mirror and I be like, girl, you's doing it today. I wink at myself. If I'm really feeling funny, you think I'm cute because my, you will, and my daughter, she's like, Mom, are those lips on your mirror? And I do. I mean, and I do that. I mean, I have to do that. Because I learned, and see, people say it all the time, if you don't love yourself, how do you expect somebody else? But here's the thing. You can say that, that means nothing. We've never been taught to love ourselves. Right. And being taught, you have to physically do things to love yourself. And I do. Every once in a while, and I'm gonna tell you, I am not no lace and silk person. I am a straight up cotton girl, always been, always will be, because I feel comfortable. But every once in a while, when I want to feel sexy, up under my gym clothes, if you see me walking a certain way in the gym, it's that lace. I'm not lying to you. I'm just saying. I will do that. And don't get twisted, because sometimes I'll be mad on leg day. I'll be like, what was I thinking? I'm like, oh gosh. You know, I'm like, you know, but I'm just saying, I will do that for myself, because I've realized that I have got to love myself. But that's been my journey through self-healing and self-loving myself. Because even though I was loved, especially back in those days, it was just assumed you had good, strong self-esteem. As long as you did what you were supposed to do, and you were the woman, and you did what girls were supposed to do, and you did the right thing, and didn't shame the family, you were good. And you were supposed to be happy, and you were supposed to be happy that you were happy. Yeah, you know, but we as females, and we've never been taught to love ourselves and how to display that love for ourselves. We've always thought the display was making yourself up. But making yourself up is just not for you, it's for somebody else too. You know, and it's more than just making yourself up, because sometimes you can put on that makeup and get your hair done and still, yeah, you're feeling good that first hour, let the rain hit it. You know, let it sweat off. And then that whatever which was making you feel good will come off with it sometimes. You know, and so you have to be able to keep that feeling with or without the makeup, or when it leaves. And so, I mean, that's just me. Societal-wise, how do you think this has affected the societal-wise, our society, and then just around the world? Because let me say something, as women, we're all tied. We're all tied. People don't realize that. We're all tied. What happens to us here, it does matter in Africa. It does matter in the Sudan. It does matter in Southeast Asia. It does matter in Eastern Europe. I'm mentioning those specific places because those are the places where women and children are mistreated the most. And so they do look to us. They do look to the Western world. And so I'm saying, how do you think, but also understand this, the things that we complain about here, across the ocean, down south of us, the north is doing actually pretty good, but down south of us, those things in those other places are 10 times worse. Because at least we have a democratic society or a government that allows us as women, as much as we complain about our government, there are still people in our government who fight for us. They hear our pleas, they hear our cries, they hear our complaints, and they step up for us. They may not always win, but they step up for us versus other women in other countries. And so I'm saying, how do you think these things or these fears that we've talked about affect society and just the world as a whole? Food for thought. Bring this back is that through these things and these instilled fears and other things that we touched upon, we become labeled and we become walking labels. We're mothers, which is good. We're daughters, very good and positive. We're best friends. Homemakers, this is a good thing. We're working moms. We're wives. We're single women. We can be divorced women. We can be separate. It doesn't matter, but we become walking labels.
Grandmothers.
Yep, grandmothers. I know, seriously, we're aunts. All right. But also, too, along with those positive labels, there have become labels that, depending on how you take it, it can put us, I feel, in a sense of discombobulation, of confusion of how we should take it. Beautiful, but it depends on the woman, because you don't know what's going on with her. Cute, chunky, fat, not fat, fat, skinny fat, big pumpkin.
What's skinny fat?
Skinny fat are very skinny people who you think are pretty, and you're like, oh, she's so skinny, but realistically, all that thickness is nothing but fat under the skin, and it's very unhealthy. But we think they look good because, because they're skinny, but they're really extremely unhealthy. Well, not extremely, but there are a lot of times they're unhealthy, unhealthy. And so, but we're thinking, oh, she's so pretty, she's what she complaining about. And I'm thinking, that girl is skinny fat, and she probably got all kind of problems going on inside of her. There's a reason why her skin looks like that. Splotchy and hair thin. I mean, because realistically, all that goes with it, but a lot of times we don't see that. Yeah, oh my goodness, yeah. It affects some labeling. Like I just stated, it can be positive and negative. When it's positive, it's very empowering to us. Especially when we accept it and we feel it and we take it to heart. But it can also put us in the realm of being classified as being extremely weak.
Physically, just in general, we are the weaker vessel.
We may be the weaker vessel, but
not
but
the way the world thinks.
Not the way the women,
right? Because we are strong. Men could not have that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And not only that, the problem with being classified as a weaker species instead of just being different. There's nothing wrong with being weak, but that doesn't disqualify me from being able to do the same things that you do.
Right.
And I think that's been the problem, is that being classified as a weaker species has been the reason for us as being abused, or for not being allowed to do things. Instead of realizing that yes, I'm different, but I can still do certain things like you. And that's been the problem. And it's used against us. It's used as a hindrance to us, and it affects us mentally and psychologically. Psychologically. From inside and outside. Not only do we internalize it, but we also experience it from the outside world. And it's scary because not only do we experience it from men, but these thoughts have also been transferred to women also, and we beat up on each other. And that's something that we've got to stop doing. We have to start empowering each other, and it does start with our little girls. We have to teach these and instill this in our little girls in order to bring about change. Because yeah, we are physically different. Even our brains are different than men. So yeah, I know.
We have them, they don't.
Yeah, well, no kissing. All right. But because of these labels, which have been positive and negative, let me say this. If it's positive, we need somebody to tell us. If it's negative, we're still looking for validation. It's like we can't win for losing. Because if we're beautiful, we need to hear somebody say, I'm beautiful, I look good, I'm cute, I'm okay. No, girl, you're not that chunky. You just big bumpy. We need to hear that, no matter if it's good or if it's bad. And so I think that it has really put us in women here trying this balancing act, as you all already stated. And so we're looking for these validations from people and things. Because things are included in that, whether it be from what is affected the most in when we talk about fear, our coping strategies, the things that we get involved in to cope with, whether it is jealousy or greed or risky types of behavior, drugs, alcohol. What's affected the most? Our bodies. If our bodies are affected, and of course that means our health is affected. the elephant in the room, which a lot of times we do not like to discuss. Our health is our body image. Whatever we put inside, it will reflect on the outside. Whether it be the thinning of our hair, the length of our hair, the shininess of our hair, the smoothness of our skin, the blotchiness of our skin. Also, which we don't like to talk about, the elephant in the room, how slim or how big. And just because you're slim does not mean you're healthy. That's why they have that term skinny fat. Or it could be, unfortunately, something else physically wrong with you. But we do know that as you start to increase size, it is not healthy. We don't like to talk about it. We like to make excuses, use terms like big boned, this is how I was born, this is who I am, and I am here to tell you that's not true. And as a society, we truly know this. Our body is our health is our image is our health. And therefore, the things that we do to our body are going to show. If you are heavy and you're having problems with your ankles and your joints, usually that's because of the weight on you. It is holding your body and pulling your body down. If you're thin and you're skinny fat, as they say, and you have heart issues, sometimes it's not about having heart issues, but sometimes you still may have high cholesterol or be on the verge of having heart disease, especially if you are a female. And so therefore, even though we may look healthy, it doesn't always mean we are healthy. Ooh, excuse me. So, what have we started doing? We run from what helps from us. We've become a society of runners. We run from what can help us be healthy, what can make us be strong, what can put us on the threshold and the path to becoming fearless individuals. What can help us and what do we run from? Eating healthy, living a healthy lifestyle, like eating the correct foods and exercise. And you don't have to go to the gym to be healthy. You can find some other type of activity, of aerobic activity, whether it's playing basketball or walking your dog. It is time for you to reclaim you, to take control of your body, to take control of who you are. Vision yourself, envision where you want to be. And if nothing else, come up with a motto. My motto is, I fight to stay athletically fit because my body is a temple. I even have this on my Twitter. I have to psych myself out sometimes, to give me that push, to give me that drive. And I am saying to you, get you a model to wake you up and to get you where you want to be. If you don't have one, make one up or borrow one until you decide to come up with your own. But in the end game, make one up for yourself that reflects who you are. I made mine up to reflect who I am and who I want to be. And I want you to do the same thing. Because see, when you make your model up, you reclaim you. And you are on taking the next step or the first step to getting the healthy, fit, racked, or the fit you that you want to be or that you see and envision yourself. It is never too late to become what you were meant to be fit-wise. Thank you. This was Allie from Fit Rats. Again, I hope you come back for the next self-empowerment fitness video.